more applicants. There's no question about that. We have to do more on the recruitment side, because unless you recruit a sufficiently broad and deep pool of applicants, you won't have a lot of selectivity or opportunity to select. And finally, and I'll shortly show you the particular challenges on financial aid. We're going to be, and we are engaged in adding consultation on the financial aid side. We have always been using, or at least in recent memory, a well-respected professional, but this year's reality defied his ability to predict. And though this is such a strange year, that doesn't make us lose complete confidence in a well-respected professional. We're testing his views with other ones, and we'll be sure that we're applying our aid offers in the optimal way. Next slide. Okay, now in terms of numbers, interesting. The top number is the number of continuing students. Now, and I should say, with all of these numbers, this number is a projection for the census date in October. There may be slightly different projections today, but they're very, very close to this. And so I'm just sticking with this. None of these numbers are absolute. As you can see, there's actually a comforting rise, and we're very pleased if we are at 1,000 in returning students. On the one hand, we'd like to think this is the first inkling of the dawn of better retention, where we have to work massively on that. That's very important. I'll talk about that in an instant, because that's key to our total enrollment. But it may also be in part a response to the economy, oddly, but also to the fact that we've, in past years, actually had historically high entering classes. Now, the number of students entering, there you see a decided slip. We had, again, 450, 454, 447. Those were already historically high. I think that when we saw last year 447, we thought, I don't know, maybe Steve thought otherwise, but the difference between 447 and 454 is pretty de minimis. But now that we've gone down to 409, that is a serious challenge, and we've got to figure out how to reverse that, or decide to be a college of a different size. I'm saying that not because I think that we want to be smaller, absolutely not, but we've got to face reality and say, how did this happen? What can we do to have it be what we want it to be? Now, the upper figure is our selectivity. That means how many people did we admit out of the number of applications we got. Basically, we've been hovering around, a little above and a little below 60. We actually seem to have been on what may have been, although it's hard to see if there's much difference there, but on a slightly good trend through 08-09. But we've moved in the wrong direction, 09-10. So we've seen a drop in applicants. We must reverse that if we're to both be able to claim any degree of selectivity, but more than that, have a wonderful crop of students from which to choose, and of course we then have to convince them to come once we've given them admission, and there our yield is relatively stable. A lot more can be said about every one of these, and I'm going to leave you to pull us back for deeper inquiries. But one of the reasons we're moving rapidly to a new and augmented strategy of recruitment is that we know we have to do a better job in getting the word out there and getting people we want to look at, to apply to Hampshire. Because that selectivity number is not just a measure of the number of people from whom we have to select. It becomes itself a tool, because if we were to become much less selective, this would actually make Hampshire look less desirable to precisely the students we want. So this is a very important number. Next slide. Now we get to show you why we're in trouble. Let me explain what this slide is. The budget means the budget that we were projecting. This is as we were building this year's budget. We looked to have, we thought we'd have a mix of 426 incoming students, and we thought that 241 would be on financial aid, 72 would be on what we call full pay with merit. That is, they don't have need, but we offer them a relatively modest, is it stipend? Steve? Scholarship, thank you, Kathy, and Steve, in order to, honestly, to compete, to make it clear to them how desirable we think they are, and to feel good about coming to Hampshire. And finally, the number of full pay. Now the number is now going to show you the projections as of August 14th, and I fear the news is even less good or even bleaker than that. But you can see that our financial aid students went up rapidly by 56, and instead of basically what happened is we got 55 more financial aid students and 55 fewer full pay. You know, again, nothing good or bad about this one student against the other, but its impact on our financial model is significant. So let's show you the next slide. This is a lot of information on this slide. I'm not going to go through it, but what this slide shows you is how our, as I said, very well-respected and professional who've been working with us for years, works with lots of other schools and helps every school model its investment of financial aid across the spectrum of students he's admitting, how his projections for us completely missed the mark. Now, I happen to know that other schools saw a rise in the discount rate. The discount rate, I'll explain in a minute, is, as many of you know, is how you express the degree to which the money you're putting in financial aid compares to the total cost of tuition that you're getting. That's sort of probably a clumsy definition, but if Steve is nodding his head vertically, it's fine. So basically, it's like a way of averaging what you give in financial aid across the total list price or retail price of your tuition or TRB, depending on how you figure it. In any event, so you can see is we're not that far off in the projection. These are all the dates mean the date we made the projection, and the projection is always for this date, October 15. We're not that far off in admitted students. Well, of course we're not far off in admitted students, but in enrolled students we are down. I think that we'll do a little better than that in the end, but what you can see that the average Hampshire grant for financial aid students went up from a projection of about 25,000 to 30,000. That, as I said, the number of full pay students dropped. He'd been giving us a range. Merit recipients went up greatly. Interesting, has nothing to do with the dollars, but I thought you'd like to see how it played out in other areas. Minority students higher than projected, which is great. Female, slightly higher. The tuition rate discount is what you really need to look at. He was projecting that we would be in the low 40s. We're going to be in the mid 50s. This is very big news. And then just to see, basically, he thought we would spend $4 million. We're spending $8.5 million. So it's basically a $4.2 million change between our best professional advice and projections of what we thought was going to happen and what did happen. So that's why we're here. As we look ahead, I just wanted to remind everyone of, in a sense, the challenge that our admissions office, our recruitment effort was always going to have, because this single slide just shows you that basically we're going to be pretty level in the number of students who are going to be graduating from high school over the next, pretty level over the next 10 years. Next slide.